Hey everyone, and welcome to Carrie's Garage. And on this episode, Z Car Revival Episode 5. We're going to try and get a couple of things onto it today, see why the fuel pump isn't really doing anything. So we're going to pull it back out, take a look at it. I have some fuel hoses for up front, but I still haven't gotten the main fuel hose from the fuel pickup down to the pump. It ended up being kind of a fiasco getting that. So hopefully it should be here this week and then we can get that done. But first, we're going to figure out why the fuel pump isn't working. So let's get started. So I got the Z car all jacked up with some jack stands to be safe. So we'll go ahead and pull the new fuel pump out. And then I've got some new pressure hoses for here since these are just completely disintegrated and they turn into black goo. And I was just looking and it looks like there's a tear in this pipe work, which I think this is some sort of a water heating system for the idle air control or some sensor, I don't know. But there's still a tear that's going to have to get replaced. I'm not going to worry about that yet because it's not running, but once we get it running, we're going to have to get that sorted. But really, mainly right now is figuring out why the fuel pump isn't working. We're under the car. This bolt had actually broken, so I had put it in kind of temporarily just to see if we can get some fuel pressure. And now that we're taking it out, I'm going to go ahead and drill this guy out and replace it so we can properly mount the pump. As you can see, it kind of all started coming apart with these little rubber pieces that hold it in place because it's a smaller diameter. And this right here is the fuel hose that is weeping pretty bad. So we need to figure out how to get that replaced once we get it. But let's go ahead and pull the fuel pump out because I'd like to see why it isn't working. Well, it's definitely got fuel. I thought I had clamped it down, but let me go in the back and take a look. Well, for now, I just put a bolt in there and tightened it down, so it is dripping a little bit, but it's not a big worry. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this entire carrier out so I can drill out that bolt real quick. And I had a thought just now to double check to make sure I didn't wire the pump backwards. I don't think that would work, but maybe it's running backwards. I don't know. I've seen weirder. So now, got the fuel pump out. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just tap it with some power and see what it does out here. I looked and there's no obstructions that I can tell. So I'll go ahead and hook up positive. Positive. And we'll just hold negative onto here. And we'll see if it does anything. Interesting. Put some power to it and then it popped out of here. Might have been an obstruction in there. Interesting. Well, that's good news if it was just simply an obstruction. It seems to be spurting out of here. So, I got the holder fixed. So let's go ahead and put it all back together. Put it back in the car and see if it does anything. It'd be really nice if it did. We got some brand new fuel lines installed. I actually did hook up the battery and cycled the key, and I heard the fuel rail actually prime. So I think we are actually golden. So let me go ahead and hook the battery back up. For some reason, the brake lights are staying on, so I need to figure out that. It'll drain the battery. But let's see if this battery even has enough voltage to crank. I might have to hook up the battery charger up to it, but let's see. It's at neutral. Yep, I'm hearing the fuel prime. Wow, it actually tried to fire. That's really cool. Well, it's doing something. I have a feeling these injectors might need to be gone through, which I kind of anticipated, but let's see. And as I thought, the battery is going to die. So let me go ahead and hook it up to the charger and we'll go from there. Well, I had a different battery which has a good charge. It's actually out of the Lincoln, and I was able to just barely squeeze it in, so we should have some pretty good voltage now. So let's see if we can actually get it to fire and stay running. There's a few vacuum leaks that I'm going to have to fix, but that shouldn't be too bad. Alright, let me actuate the throttle and see if we can get it going and keep it running. Well, it seems like some of the injectors are starting to come to. That's smoothing out a bit. Definitely going to need to be doing some more cleaning up, and I don't know if these injectors are going to come around, but we'll see. And yes, I did check. We have coolant. And I do know that the spark plugs need to be replaced, so I'm going to go ahead and order up a set of those and replace those. Probably just do that today. But this is a really big step. It's running on its own fuel supply, which is pretty exciting. I just got back from the parts store. Got us some new spark plugs. I'm going to take all these spark plugs out, go ahead and replace them, and then we're going to fire it back up and see if it smooths out. From the one I pulled, it was pretty fouled and kind of gunky. It'd been sitting for a while in the old gas. So let's hope that the new spark plugs help it out, and then we'll see if we can let it warm up a bit. Now we've got 6 fresh new spark plugs in, batteries hooked up, so let's fire back up, see how it sounds. Well, let's see how it goes. I kind of figured these injectors are probably going to be temperamental for a while, and I still might need to replace them, but we'll see. Let's let it warm up a bit, see if it wants to behave. Well, still sitting here idling. It's smoothing out a little bit, but I did the spark plug trick and found that number 6 and number 4 aren't quite hitting right, so pretty good feeling those injectors really aren't spraying correctly, but it's at least got a bit more throttle response. Before it was very stumbly, so I figured, letting it warm up for a bit might help, but no, we're still dealing with gunky old gas and car sitting. It's a lot better than it was. Temperature gauge is starting to climb. Yep, starting to get some heat in it, which is good. So I want to see if I can go ahead and let it warm all the way up. Waiting to see if that guy's going to start spraying, but we'll see. So we're here in the Z now, and temperature gauge is looking really good. Got good oil pressure, good charge. Turn on the heater, it's nice and warm, so it's looking good. And I was wondering, I was like, oh, maybe we could take it for a drive, until I discovered we have no clutch. So, gonna have to add that to the list. It's probably just the clutch hydraulics. The clutch master, the clutch slave is probably blown out, so we're gonna have to deal with that. Unfortunately, won't be able to take it for a drive because of that, but go ahead and let it just keep warming up and see if the temperature stabilizes, and it'll probably smooth out a bit, but I really don't foresee it smoothing out as much as I'd like. But for now, it's progress. I went ahead and shut it off. We got it up to complete operating temperature. Seemed to work perfectly fine that way. Still idles a little rough. So one thing I did notice is these hoses right here to the injectors. They're pretty tired and cracked. So nonetheless, I'm going to replace all of the pressure fuel lines and the lines going into the injectors. If I end up having to get remanufactured injectors, those should have new rubber lines on it, so I'm going to kind of weigh the options. And I just have a feeling we're going to have to end up replacing the injectors. A few of these are probably pretty clogged up and not spraying correctly, but it at least starts and runs and it idles and it'll rev up and sounds fairly decent. Just got to get it smoothed out. And of course, the fuel also definitely isn't playing all that great. There wasn't pretty much any gas in the tank, and I put about 5 or 6 gallons in. So it's pretty much all fresh, but there's still going to be some residual junk. So I'll probably end up running some Berrymans through it with some more fresh gas and see if we can clean it up some more. But pretty disappointed. Looks like the master cylinder for the clutch is completely blown out, that I wasn't able to drive it. But at least we made some really good headway. Well, I'll say that'll wrap it up for this episode on the Project Z Car Revival. We definitely got a lot done today, a lot more than I actually thought was going to happen. The fuel pump was able to start working. It looks like there might have been some gunk in the outlet, and when I threw it on the battery on the ground, it kind of popped out and started working. So got that in, got that bolt on the clamp fixed, new spark plugs, and we got it to start, and it runs. Doesn't run the best, but it sure runs fairly decent. So we have a really good starting point. Pretty kind of sucks that I can't take it for a quick little spin up and down the road, but kind of happens. I'll go online and I'll find a new clutch master cylinder, and we'll go ahead and get that put in. Hopefully get the rest of the fuel lines in this week, and we're making some pretty good headway in the Project Z car. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and catch you guys in the next video.